Trusova's departure can hit the Khrustalny mentor hard. The uncertain fate of Valieva and Shcherbakova puts her in a difficult position. The post-Olympic season promised Eteri Tutberidze great difficulties, but no one expected that they would develop to such a scale. The spontaneous departure of Alexandra Trusova to Svetlana Sokolovskaya has become the main news of recent days. Having lost the Russian rocket, the Khrustalny coach also lost her best student, and now she has no one to win trophies with. The precarious position of Kamila Valieva, who may face disqualification for doping, and the uncertainty in the fate of Anna Shcherbakova, who, having taken the Olympic gold, went on a well-deserved rest to heal old injuries, obliged Tutberidze to think about her own future. After all, the third, youngest generation of figure skaters Eteri is also in a crisis. It looks like the best coach in the world is really in trouble. The decision of Alexandra Trusova to change her coach after the Olympic season suggested itself, but it still came as a surprise. From the point of view of the skater, it is quite reasonable. The Russian rocket survived the most dramatic episode in her career, and it would be difficult psychologically to work further with a specialist whom she indirectly, in a fit of emotions, blamed for what happened. In addition, physical activity, familiar to the young inhabitants of the Khrustalny, is really not suitable for an 18-year-old athlete. Sasha was afraid of the aggravation of old injuries, knowing full well that her former mentor is unlikely to make concessions and reduce demands. In this regard, Tutberidze's maximalism is no different from her students' desire to be the first in everything. This is the tragedy for the best coach in the world. The cooperation between Eteri Georgievna and Sasha could no longer continue, but Trusova's departure would be a serious blow to the Khrustalny mentor. The fact is that the Queen of Quads is the only one with whom Tutberidze could achieve high results. For now, we are talking about adult students, but then we will touch on the topic of young pupils, who also have a crisis. Sasha's athletic predisposition has always been her main weapon, while an arsenal of almost all quadruples, excellent technique and rapid progress in skating and artistry under the guidance of Eteri Georgievna would make her the leader of the current composition of the Russian national team. In the end, Trusova is the last of the legendary trio of Trusov, Shcherbakov, Khrustalny, who still remains in the cage. Nominally, both Khrustalny and Shcherbakova did not end their careers, but it will be incredibly difficult for both of them to return after such serious injuries that required surgical intervention. Anya won the main award in her career by winning the Olympic Games, and Elena looks enthusiastic outside the rink. The skater has faced more than one test over the past couple of years, because of which she could corny burn out. The fact that Trusova, Shcherbakova, Khrustalny is the best generation of Tutberidze is an axiom. They were supposed to be replaced by a new trio of talented single skaters who would overshadow the greatness of the previous ones, but something did not go according to plan. Only Kamila Valieva managed to loudly declare herself, having earned the status of a genius, a phenomenon in figure skating, which prevented her from seizing the initiative, as, for example, in the story of Sasha, Anya and Elena, Maya Kromek and Daria Yuzacheva. Both athletes have strengths, but their weaknesses turned out to be more noticeable. Maya was hindered by instability on Ultra C, and Dasha was catastrophically unlucky with her health, which slowed down her technical progress. At the moment, both are undergoing rehabilitation after injuries, still being in the shadow of Valieva, to whom the closest attention is riveted. Coaches, judges, journalists and fans around the world are watching with interest Kamila's return to the ice after the Olympic nightmare. The question of whether the era of the decline of the inimitable Valieva will now begin is particularly acute. Stress, injuries and an unfinished doping case are quite capable of putting an athlete out of action. For Tutberidze, this will be another loss that will have to be quickly compensated so as not to lose loyalty points even from Russian referees. The most unpleasant thing is that in the case of Kamila, the greatest control over the situation is not with the figure skater and her coach. There is no doubt that the coaching staff of Eteri Georgievna is able to prepare the athlete so that she is on top again, but with the anti-doping officials, who will have the final word in the decision to disqualify Valieva if she is found guilty of using prohibited substances. Optimists can hope for a positive outcome of the situation. They can recall that the Tutberidze group is full of young and hungry for victories figure skaters, among whom there are also quad and triple skaters. However, they also have problems. Sofia Akateva, Adalia Petrosian and Veronika Vilina were next in line. The latter subsequently moved to the Yevgeny Plushenko Academy, depriving Khrustalny of the opportunity to see her quads, or falls from them. The main struggle for leadership is between Akateva and Petrosian. True, only in the domestic arena. Due to the ban of Russian athletes, our wonderful girls will not be able to present their technically complex and at the same time very beautiful programs at the main starts of the season. Moreover, if Adalia still had a chance to surprise the audience with a brilliant quad loop in adult competitions, then Sofia does not and cannot have such an opportunity. The increase in the age limit hit her hardest because of the unfortunate date of birth. Akateva, who owns several Ultra C, is forced to sit in juniors, which is also not good for Tutberidze. Ateri Georgievna found herself in an extremely difficult situation. 3 generations of her skaters are in crisis, and in most cases, the mentor will not be able to do anything about it. She will not be able, with a high degree of probability, to return Trusova, help Valieva cancel the disqualification if this happens, change the date of birth of Akateva and influence the decision to remove Russian skaters from international starts. In a word, Tutberidze has serious problems. Valentin Nikolaev, the coach of the 1994 Olympic champion in women's single skating of Ukrainian Oksana Byul, spoke about the work of the honored coach of Russia Ateri Tutberidze, whose students regularly won prizes in international competitions before Russia was suspended. What is Tutberidze like? Tutberidze is a tough general manager. She is not a top-class coach. Seryosha Dudakov, a very competent technical coach, works with her. Ateri has built a rigid discipline in herself, neither to the left nor to the right, that's all. I don't like the system she uses. The same system was used by Stanislav Zhuk, the world-famous coach, whose percentage of marriage, that is, injured athletes, was unusually high. In front of Tutberidze, as well as once in front of Zhuk, there is an impression that in front of them is a reinforced concrete embrasure of a certain size, on which is written gold medals of the Olympic Games and World Championships. And now a body is pushed through this embrasure. What falls on this side, they don't care, Nikolaev said.